Hello and welcome to the Etoft21sports show for August 23rd. How is everyone doing? My name is Erik and I am the man behind Etoft21sports. We have a great show for you today. Former D3 quarterback legend, my boy Reed, is stopping by. Him and I are going to be breaking down the NFC North. I'm going to be telling you what fantasy football player you shouldn't draft in this year's draft. And my boy Gino, who hit a 9-1 wire-to-wire winner at Saratoga last week, he's going to be stopping by and he's going to tell you what horse to lock in for tomorrow. Let's see what Gino's got it cooking.
Horse racing play for this week. Shout out to everyone. Tune in to Erik's show. Make sure to give him a follow. Check out all the great content that Erik does, whatever sport, whatever games, whatever wagers he's talking about. He's always so well prepped. Let's see if we can make you some money again this week. Saratoga Wednesday. We're looking at race number 7. I'm looking at the number 5 in there, Proven Hope. 5-1 on the morning line. My value line is 7-2. So if we can get anything over 3-1, I think that's worthy of making a win wager here. This horse raced on the turf one other time, was 6th, was in between horses early in that race, was about 3 or 4 lengths off, got squeezed back out of a spot there, and was forced to move all the way to the outside. I thought the race was a little bit sneaky, and it's something to build on. When you look at the rest of this group, what it would take to win this race is not far off of that effort there. And following that, this is a runner who went and took a shot on the dirt, faced a very nice horse named Accreditive, who came back to run second in their next start in a grade 2, in the grade 2 Amsterdam, earning 101 buyer speed figure in doing so. If you look at the morning line favor in this race, they were actually defeated by a horse named Impulsiveness, and Proven Hope outfinished Impulsiveness in their last start. Now, that was on the dirt. Impulsiveness came back to win on the grass, but just playing that game, I always like to lean to a horse with the better price. We're going to look to Proven Hope, 5-1 morning line. Anything over 3, we'll give a win wager there. So good luck this week, and hopefully we can get you another winner here.
Let's make sure to lock that in. He had a wire-to-wire 9-1 winner last week, people. So make sure you lock that bet in for tomorrow. Now let's shift our attention over to the fantasy football spotlight. The player in this fantasy football spotlight is Dalton Schultz. Right now, per Fantasy Football Pros, Schultz has an ADP of 56 and the 6th tight end being drafted. Me not drafting Schultz is more of a principle play than anything else. I never like drafting a player coming off a career year. Last year, Schultz saw an increase in targets, reception, yards, and touchdowns. And I really feel all that was due to opposing defenses focusing their attention on CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, and Michael Gallup. This year, with Cooper gone and Michael Gallup hurt, opposing defenses are going to be focusing more attention on Schultz. Thus, we're going to see decrease in his production. Also, important to remember with last year, a lot of the higher tight ends, Darren Waller, TJ Hawkinson, Gronkowski, George Kittle, Dawson Knox, they didn't play a full season. With those guys not playing a full season, Schultz finished higher than he would. And lastly, I never like chasing. And I feel if I draft Dalton Schultz this year, I'm chasing last year's production. So because of that, I will not be drafting Dalton Schultz in my fantasy football drafts this year. Now, let's dive into our NFC North preview. And who better to come on than former D3 great, my boy, number 12 on the field, number 1 in your hearts, my boy Reed. Reed, how you doing today, my man?
I'm doing good. How are you, Erik?
You know what, dude? I got no complaints, man. I got no complaints, and I'm thrilled because my Lions are finally going to do better than your Bears this year, dude. I'm absolutely thrilled that my boys are finally going to be better than your boys, and I can talk some trash to you.
Yeah, it might be a tough year for my Bears. I think your Lions, the Hard Knocks just started like a couple minutes ago, so I'll have to watch that after this.
So, what we're going to do, those watching, we're going to dive in. We're just going to go team by team. Reed and myself, we're just going to be telling our overall thoughts. We're going to go how they finished last year. And we're going to start with my Detroit Lions. Lions, the record last year was 3-13-1. Pythagorean win total was 5.96. Over under a 6.5. To win the North, they are plus 950. To win the NFC, they're 55-1. And to win the Super Bowl, they are 100-1. Reed, Talk to me about my Lions.
I mean, they're definitely headed in the right direction. Recently their O-line's unbelievable. They got Sewell, uh, Ragnow, and Decker to kind of anchor it. And behind them they got Swift, who's a good back when he's healthy. The one guy I'm like looking out this year for on the Lions, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Last year he kind of started off slow. He's a later round pick. On one of the Hard Knocks recently, he named like all the guys ahead of him, and there was a lot of them. So he was not like highly touted coming out of school. But last year, last 6 games, he had 560 yards, 5 touchdowns. He had double digits targets every game. I think a good play for him, his receiving total is set at 850.5 this year. He hit 912 last year, and that was not really being a main focal point of the offense to start the year. So I think that is probably my favorite play for this Lions team. I think something else to think about is starting the year, Anthony Lynn was their offensive coordinator, who is not the best, to say the least. Campbell kind of took over duties, but people are talking and they're saying Ben Johnson was the one, kind of getting in his ear to throw the ball a little more. He's the OC this year now, so I'd expect them to air it out a little. Goff last year had like the lowest depth of target in the league. That's probably partially due to Anthony Lynn. So I'd expect them to open up the offense a little more this year. I like the Lions offense, actually. I have more concerns with the defense. I think the secondary is kind of weak. Linebackers aren't great. They're solid on the line, but I don't know. So Amon-Ra St. Brown over 850.5. Get him in fantasy. I like him a lot this year. I like the Lions. I just don't know if I can go over the 6.5 win total. Growing up, it's still the I've always just watched the Lions, so it's hard for me to do. But what say you?
Okay, so number one, Coach Dan, how much of an impact do you see Wolverines legend Aiden Hutchinson making in his rookie campaign? You can answer this, and then I'll give my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I like him. He's like a very polished like pass rusher. He's like got good moves. Like the one concern was he had like short arms or something, but he's opposite Charles Harris, who had a good year last year. Coming over from Atlanta, and I think like Hutchinson's not just going to see double teams all the time because Harris is no like scrub really. So yeah, I mean, I think Hutchinson is a day one starter. Obviously, he's a number 2 pick. I think he'll definitely make an impact. He looked good. He's looked good in the preseason. They're raving about him in camp. So I have no reason to think Hutchinson won't be good.
I think it's going to be great because it's going to take pressure off the DBs. Having that guy that's able to get to the quarterback, we've seen with the 49ers, with what they have in Bosa. We saw with the Commanders before Young got hurt. And we even saw it with the Bengals last year with their defensive line. Just being able to have someone to get to the quarterback makes the quarterback go off his progressions and everything. Dude, just already a local legend right there. The nuke, dude. The nuke. I think that's just going to help the defense. Defense had insanely a lot of injuries last year. You mentioned Goff. I'm sorry, dude, but 68% completion and 11 to 2 TT to INT ratio for me, that's good. Like if he does that this year with that offensive line, Swift's being able to stay healthy. You mentioned St. Brown. The offense has St. Brown, Hawk, who missed part of the year last year. They brought in DJ Shark. They got the kid Williamson from Alabama, who's going to miss the first 4. This team has some
Josh Reynolds also.
Yep, Josh Reynolds. This team's going to be good. And here's a little trivia question for you. Can you name the one team in the NFL that doesn't play anyone that has longer rest than they do this year?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm going to have to guess the Detroit Lions.
That is correct, my friend. The Detroit Lions got the benefits of the scheduling gods. They have a couple circle spots that I have on their schedule. And this is something I do. I just kind of go through their schedule. I just circle spots where I'm definitely going to be looked to betting them if the number's right. Week 7, they're coming off the bye with the Cowboys coming off playing the Eagles. One of the things I'm going to be monitoring this year is teams after they play the Eagles, because the Eagles are so physical on both sides of the ball up front, how they do the next week against the spread. week 9, Packers' third road game in 4 weeks. I love those situations. And then week 12, sandwich spot versus the Bills. They have the Browns before, the Patriots the week after, Thanksgiving Day. I'm calling it right now. Lions straight up over the Bills on Turkey Day. Finally, after what it seems like my entire life, I'm going to get a Lions win on Turkey Day. How do you feel about that, my friend?
I don't mind the other two spots you gave. The Bills on Thanksgiving, I don't know. Lions are coming off. I'm looking at their schedule now. They're coming off short rest on the road that week, obviously. So they're just at New York, but Giants aren't too good. But I don't know. I think Buffalo's real good this year, and I'm probably not as high in the Lions as you are. I guess it'll be early for the Bills, but I don't know. Like, I don't think the Lions are in the Bills class yet. So no, I don't really care about the spot. I don't think they're beating them.
Now, my thing is my 2 bets with the Lions are to make the playoffs plus 410. And just looking at the teams, and we'll get into them in a little after we finish this, I feel between the Bears, Vikings, and Packers, they have the least amount of chaos going on. Them at 10-1, I found worth a small play, small play to win the NFC, because I truthfully feel offense, like you played in college. Tell me, I value offensive line and defensive line play. I feel they have the best offensive line in the division.
I would totally agree, and I think like playing whenever like I was on a team that was really good, it started up front.
Mhm.
It always kind of started with that front 5, especially on offense. I think defensively sometimes you can get away with it a little. Not always, i.e. like the Chargers last year, they just kind of got gashed all the time. But offensively, like it just kind of sets everything up. Your quarterback's got time to throw. And like it can make like a good offensive line can kind of make an average quarterback, maybe like Goff, like look a lot better than he is when you like watched him with those Rams teams. Kirk Cousins, we'll get to him later, but like when he's not pressured, he's really good. So and like they got Swift, and even if Swift, with his injury history, he's always hurt like in one of 2 areas. It's his knee or shoulder. So it wouldn't be shocking if he missed a couple games, but Jamal Williams is like a very capable backup. Like I think their line's great. I'm maybe not as high on the D line as you. Like I like their edge rushers, but I don't love the interior of their defense, but I don't know. What say you?
You know what? I like the interior of their defense a lot. I think with having Hutch and Harrison on the outside, I think it's gonna rise up a little bit. And also Pythagorean wins. That is points over plus points against times the number of games. Teams that underperform from where their Pythagorean win total is by a game or more tend to overachieve the next season. As I said, the Lions' Pythagorean win total was basically 6 last year. They only won 3 games. So they're due for some positive regression. So Reed has Amon St. Brown over yard total. What was that number?
850.
850. I have Lions to make the playoffs plus 410 and Lions to win the North plus 1,000. Now we're going to switch over to the Chicago Bears. And unfortunately, we are going to have to talk about that Bears offensive line. So tell me what you think about the Bears, my friend.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, it all kind of like they got the new coach, Eberflus, new OC, Getsy, who was the Packers quarterback coach. I've, heard good things about Getsy, but it kind of all like the main storyline of the year. I don't think the Bears are competing for anything this year. So it's going to be Justin Fields kind of development. They used a high draft pick on him, and I don't know. It's almost like they don't like the guy. You would think, they lost Robinson and they replaced him with the likes of Byron Pringle, Equanimous St. Brown, who's the worst St. Brown brother, N'Keal Harry, who got kind of ran out of New England, and then they drafted Velus Jones, but he's just more of a special team guy. Yeah, like Fields took a lot of sacks last year. I'm honestly worried about him getting through the year just healthy this year. He was holding on to the ball for over 3 seconds last year. He had the second farthest like depth of target last year, only behind Russell Wilson. So hopefully Getsy kind of can fix some of those things, like maybe start getting some more rhythm in the offense. But yeah, the O-line, they tried to fix it, but like they didn't really put that much of an effort in. Their starting left tackle is going to be a 5th-round pick out of Southern Utah. They got Whitehair at guard. I think they're trying out Tevin Jenkins at guard. They kind of panic signed Riley Reif, and then they have Patrick guy from Green Bay in at center. But Fields was pressured on 33% of his dropbacks in the preseason, and that's when defenses aren't giving you all they got. So yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be an ugly year for the Bears. I think the one like saving grace where maybe they don't have like a top 3 pick because of how many games they lose is just I don't think their schedule is like that difficult. I think that's kind of the same for a lot of the NFC. But saying that, like when I look at the Bears schedule and I see they play Houston or either of the New York teams, I'm sure they also have us circled as a win. So it's going to be a tough year, but I don't know. You just hope to see like some improvement from Fields, and
All right,
I don't know.
So let's go through their schedule real quick. Week 1,
Yeah.
San Francisco. Do you think they're winning that game?
No, I don't. I think that game could be close because it's Lance's first start. But I don't see them scoring more than 10 or 13 points on that San Francisco defense. So no, I don't see them winning that.
Green Bay.
God, no.
Houston.
That's at home. I think they could win that one. Yeah.
You're not, dude. Lovie Smith got the Ross deal in the history of coaching. This is the Lovie Smith revenge, dude. They're gonna get.
I guess, but
honestly, dude, if they don't win that game, this is just me. I feel if they don't win week 4 at
the Giants,
I think they're gonna. I think the next time they could get a win is week 11.
Only game I could see him. Oh yeah, I don't disagree. The only game I could see him winning is Miami week 9,
or maybe the short week when they host the Commanders.
Yeah, maybe you get a Wentz stinker, but one. Yeah, no, I agree though. Like they will be 2-9 or 1-10 probably at week 11, and they have a late bye this year, which really hurts them, I think.
Now, you mentioned their offensive line. I do my offensive line rankings. They have the worst offensive line per my rankings. They didn't do anything to the 5th round to address that. I think they're setting up Fields to fail. Next year's quarterback class is insanely talented. Like you have the kid from Kentucky, the kid from Miami, the kid from Alabama, the kid from Ohio State. There's one other kid too. There's supposed to be 5 guys that have 1st-round grades. I mean, like, are they already just going to give up on Fields and draft the new guy?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, it's tough because, like, he's shown glimpses of it where you see it and you're like, okay, like, he's got talent, obviously. Like, you have Pittsburgh game on Monday night, you always kind of go back to is where they're, that's a good defense and they're just like, go down the field. And he kept doing it. So you see the potential, but I don't know, this front office, I personally don't know how they feel about him, given their off-season moves. Probably, I don't know how well they feel about him. It seems like Poles is setting up for next year to be like the go for it year when they have all that cap room. They'll have a 1st-round pick again, and it'll be Fields' 3rd year. But if they are one of those top 3 picks, and you can get one of those quarterbacks, like, are they going to pass on them? I don't know. So.
Yes, I live in the Chi and I hate the Bears. That is me. Teams, this is how I feel. Teams with good structure win. I feel the Bears don't have good structure. This is going to absolutely blow your mind. In order to coach the Bears, you have to agree to go to Saturday Night Mass with the owners.
Yikes.
Like, dude, just think about that. Like that makes zero sense to me. Like, why? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, that's why they get all these, like, I don't want to say second rate, but I'm gonna say it. I think Eberflus, second rate assistant. I don't think he was the best guy for the job. You're getting a guy that couldn't come up with a defensive plan against the Jacksonville Jaguars. You know what? Because they needed to win that game. Lawrence lit him up. Lawrence has been looking awful. Yeah, I think this is just an awful hire. I think they're setting Fields up to fail. In terms of Mooney, I feel not having Allen Robinson there is going to be huge because now defenses are going to focus on Mooney. He's going to get that DB1. Like, I mean, I think it's just, I think they're going to be in for a long year. I think Mooney's going to going to struggle. I think it's going to be a bad year. Their only saving grace is this, okay? They're switching to a zone scheme. David Montgomery averaged over a whole yard more rushing per game in a zone behind a zone blocking scheme versus a power. Last 3 years, 5th in touches, 11 in fantasy points. I think Montgomery's in line for a huge year. That's my only
Okay.
positive thing against the Bears.
Yeah. I will say, on like the defensive side of the ball, I kind of wish they'd used one of those second round picks on maybe a receiver. Pickens was there for both of them, and he's looked really good. Or you could have gotten a tackle with either of them, or anyone on offense to help Fields. But Brisker out of Penn State, he looks like he's going to be a good player. You can kind of notice him on the field. Roquan Smith's going to end up playing. I do have concerns about.
You don't think they're going to trade Roquan? You don't think Roquan's going to get traded?
I don't think so. I think they're just going to play him for the year because they're that dumb. So they won't get any value out of him.
Okay.
And then they won't re-sign him. But yeah, I'm a little concerned about the D-line. Robert Quinn, obviously, he had 18 sacks last year, but that was in a 3-4. And in 2020, they ran a 4-3. He had 2 sacks. So now they're going back to a 4-3 with Eberflus. I don't know. I mean, he had a career year.
Let's face it.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel, but I have a little bit of a man crush on Akeem Hicks, and he's not there anymore. I think that's going to be a huge loss. Obviously, don't have Mac. I think that defensive line is going to struggle. And in the key to the Eberflus system is you have to be able to get to the quarterback. If you can't get to the quarterback, you're up a creek without a paddle. So I really think this defense is going to struggle a little bit. I think they're going to be the worst team in football.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, I think they're like right there. I just think they play some bad teams this year just because they were low last year, so they have an easier schedule. I think the NFC North all kind of got easy schedules, and I don't know. So I think they might they might sneak out 4 or 5 wins maybe, and like kind of fake it. But like they'll win 4 games and be worse than that, if that makes sense.
I think this sums it up the best. Yeah. That basically sums it up for the Bears. So let's shift our attention over to the Minnesota Vikings. Last year, their 8-9 Pythagorean win total was 7.96, over under 9.5, plus 240 to win the North, 20-1 to win the NFC, and to win the Super Bowl, 42-1. What do you think about these Vikings? I know we're going to differ here, my friend, and this is where it's going to get fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like Minnesota this year. They kind of fool people, I feel like, every year because they're talented and they have like a good roster. They got guys kind of all over the place. I think health is going to be one thing for them. They're getting Danielle Hunter back. They signed Zadarius Smith from Green Bay. Those guys, now neither of them played last year because they were hurt. But those guys in 2019 were actually the top 2 in pressures in the league. So if they can get something like that, like they're going to get to the quarterback. Their secondary is kind of a question. It's led by Harrison Smith, who's obviously very good, but he's older. Patrick Peterson's older. But I like what the GM did. He saw the need, and he used first 2 picks on Booth out of Clemson, and I think it's pronounced Sign out of Georgia. But yeah, I mean, offensively, I think they're loaded. Darrisaw's the tackle is going to help out the O-line. He's kind of getting a lot of love in camp. I saw one person compare him to Trent Williams. Maybe that's a step too far, but
it's a big step.
Yeah. But they got
step
Thielen. They got Thielen, Jefferson, and even their third receiver, Osborne, can play. Smith Jr. when he comes back from that thumb, and then obviously Dalvin Cook in the backfield. And when Cousins has time, like, I think he's good. I mean, his last 3 years, like, he's over 100 passer rating each year. Like, I know, like, in the prime time he might struggle, but looking at their schedule, they don't have like that many primetime games, a lot of noon. So I don't know. I kind of like the Vikings this year. Their over-under for wins is 9.5. And I like them to win the division, honestly. I think that's good value. I think you said it was plus 240. I think you can find it at 250 some places. So I'm on the Vikings train this year. Hopefully they can hopefully they don't do what the Vikings normally do, though.
So this is my thing. Okay. This is my thing. Now, I'm a huge offensive line, defensive line guy, as you know. They are changing from a zone blocking scheme to a power blocking scheme with the changing in coaching staff. I feel that the offensive line is going to struggle going from a pure Kubiak Dennison zone blocking scheme to a straight ahead power blocking scheme. I think that's going to be, I think they're going to struggle with that transition. Also, did you think the Miami Dolphins offensive line was good last year?
Not particularly, no.
So when you hype up signing Jesse Davis from the Miami Dolphins, and he's going to be one of your starters, that's kind of a big hole in the interior for me. Okay. That's number one. Number two, let's go to Dalvin Cook. Cook didn't have his breakout until 2019 when Rick Dennison, who in my eyes, best offensive line coach ever, came in and switched to his own scheme. That's when he had his big breakout. Historically, even you go all the way back through his career, he's had his best production in the zone scheme. And switching to power, I really think he's going to struggle. And I don't know if you remember. Do you remember these years back, like Devontae Freeman when he played for the Falcons? They switched from this Shanahan zone to a power scheme, and he was lost. He was just running straight ahead into tackles. I'm not saying that's going to happen to Cook, but I think there's going to be a struggle for Cook. And because of that, I took under 1,150.5 yards rushing. Also, he's missed 31% of the total games he could have played in the NFL. So, he's just not reliable in terms of injury. Also, I think the switch is going to hurt. New coach Kevin O'Connell, he's coming in and he says they're going to run the ball. They're going to pass more to set up the run. So you're taking carries out of Dalvin Cook's hands because you want to run the ball more. I think they're going to struggle with that. And then also they ran 3 wide receiver sets less than 5% of the time last year. And that's all O'Connell wants to run. So I don't know, like there's just a lot of change going on, less play action pass. Cousins was one of the best play action passers. I really question what they're doing offensively. Like that's actually where my big question is. So I took the under 9.5. I think they're going to struggle a little bit on the offensive side. Defense, they brought in a guy who worked under, Fangio in Denver. So he's just bringing the Fangio scheme. Fangio scheme plays if you can get to the quarterback. I think their defense is actually going to be fine. I think offensively they're going to struggle a little bit. If O'Connell would have came in and just kind of did what the Dolphins coach is doing on the defensive side of the ball, just kind of leaving everything alone on the offensive side, I'd actually like the Vikings. I just kind of feel like there's too much changes going on.
Yeah. To talk about your Cook point, like I agree with you. Like I would never take his over for any rushing yards just because, like you said, he gets hurt a lot, and
Mhm.
you never know. Um, but for like their team success, like I just don't put that much. Like I know I mentioned his name, but I do not put as much into the running back. Like if he can't figure it out, like someone else will. Like
But like
I
that's
just don't.
but who will it be? Like I spent way too much of my life one Sunday afternoon doing Alexander Madison research. You and I have, like, I don't know, you may, because if you ever played running back during your playing days, you may have
One play.
more like in a power scheme. He's never ran in anything besides zone from high school all the way to now. So I don't know. I to me,
Yeah,
there's just too many question marks.
I don't worry like too much. I just don't think it'll be as big of an issue. I think last year the Vikings, like I think Zimmer was regarded as a good coach for a long time, and then I think he just got like too conservative as a coach, and so I think bringing in O'Connell, I know he's changing some things, but I like him. He's coming out of the McVay coaching tree, and it's a small sample size, but like LaFleur has done well in Green Bay. I know he has Rodgers. Taylor just made a Super Bowl. Um, I know you don't love Staley, but he's not terrible. So I mean,
I
I think.
like Staley. I like the Chargers. I
Oh,
like Staley. Like,
oh, okay, then never mind. But I don't know. All like I feel like the guys that have come out of McVay have done well historically. So I think O'Connell will at least be an upgrade over what Zimmer was doing. And also a little fun fact about the Minnesota Vikings: if you were to take out the last 2 minutes of each half, they would have been 15-2 last year.
yeah, closing the
So
halves are a little bit of a struggle. Winning
so
that, winning that.
hopefully the new coach can fix that up, and maybe they'll eke out a couple more wins and get over the 9. Yeah,
Now you mentioned McVay, and one of my friends, he makes this joke all the time that he said if you take a pee next to Sean McVay in a urinal, like in a bathroom, you could probably get a job coaching in the NFL right now because
probably.
everyone just loves Sean McVay. I mean, it just, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So now let's switch over to the Green Bay Packers. 13-4 last year, Pythagorean win total 9.79, over under 10.5, NFC North minus 155, NFC plus 500, Super Bowl 12-1. What say you, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're going to talk about Green Bay this year, they lost, their best receiver, Devontae Adams, who had a real good rapport with Rodgers. I think this team this year is going to actually kind of lean on their defense. I think their defense is really good. Up front, they're really good. Their secondary, I think, is absolutely loaded. You have Amos and Darnell Savage, and then you have Alexander, Stokes, and Douglas. And Jair Alexander was out for a lot of last year. He's coming back. I mean, I think they got a really good secondary. They got Campbell, who was an All-Pro last year. I don't know if that's sustainable because he had not played near an All-Pro level before, but last year he was his first year with Green Bay, and then they drafted the rookie Quay Walker out of Georgia. So I think Green Bay will obviously like be good this year. I don't really have any bets on them because it's like 10.5 for the over under. So I think they're going to be right around there. So I don't see any too much value. I think the big question is Lazard ready to be like a number one receiver? And then even with him at number one, are those guys Watson and Romeo Doubs going to be ready right like early in the season to step up and play? I know Watson's been out all training camp. Dobbs has looked good, but are they going to be ready right away? I think it might take a couple weeks for the offense to kind of get going. I think they might actually have to lean on the run a little more, take the air out of the ball, play defense. But I don't know. I think week 1 at Minnesota, I think the Vikings kind of get them there. I think the Vikings' weakness is their secondary, if anything, because they're young, but the Packers receivers are young early also. So I'm going to fade Green Bay week 1, I think, against Minnesota. but I think they'll like figure it out by the end of the year. It's kind of like Kansas City this year. They're just gonna have to learn to play. Kansas City's got to learn to play without Tyreek Hill. I think Green Bay's gonna have to learn to, play without Devontae Adams.
Now, you mentioned week one. Are you ready? Like, if there's one thing you're going to remember that I tell you from this show, it's this, my friend.
Okay.
Home divisional dogs, 71% ATS week one, 65% straight up week one. Minnesota fits that criteria.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be on you. I'm going to be on you in that Minnesota game for sure.
Okay.
Getting David Bakhtiari back is going to be huge for the offensive line.
Yeah.
He missed all last season due to an injury. Jenkins, phenomenal last season, played all over the line. He's going to be manning the other tackle position. Very weak in the interior. You mentioned the run game. Because they're so weak in the interior, I think this lines up a good for Aaron Jones, who's going to be running that outside zone concept. So I think him getting to the outside, I think that's going to be really big for him. So I definitely like him in terms of fantasy.
Not to cut you off. Sorry. In PPR, I think they're going to have to throw to Jones a bunch because they lost Adams. They got to fill out. So, I think Jones is a great player in fantasy this year. Also.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I absolutely love him. If I'm hoping, my drafts are going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks. I really hope I can get him on one of my drafts. I have it from a very good source that Allen Lazard is going to be the number one wide receiver. I'll definitely be looking for him. And why he's going to be the number one is ever since LaFleur took over, Aaron Rodgers has led the NFL in audible plays. That's why him and Devontae Adams were so good, because they would just go off script. So you need someone you're familiar with. He's most familiar with Lazard. I like Lazard. I think he's going to be the wide receiver one. I think he's worth a flyer. You can get him in the 6th round in fantasy leagues. I like him a lot. Funny LaFleur story. I hate to sidetrack. An allegedly a funny LaFleur story. Are you ready for this?
Okay. Yeah.
So, allegedly, Brian Cook from LSU. He was a coach here at CMU when LaFleur was one of the graduate assistant or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly allegedly had a holiday party at his house. Asked LaFleur to come by. LaFleur thought he got invited to the party. Shows up. Kelly had him parking cars.
Wow.
I know. Dude, come on, dude. Can you imagine that?
No.
Now, do you think LaFleur can keep the team together?
In the short term, yeah. I think LaFleur is a good coach, obviously. I think they kind of beat up on the bad teams. They've had some bad playoff losses with him, obviously. I think they got to win one of those past 3 that they lost. So, I don't think he's elite, but yeah, he's a good coach. Rodgers seems to like him, which is a big thing because toward the end, he didn't like McCarthy. And so I think they have a good, rapport. And yeah, I think he'll keep the team together for sure. I think they've done a good job giving Rodgers a defense. People that 49ers game they lost last year was not because of the defense. The defense in that game was unbelievable.
It was on Rodgers. So let's call it a spade. It was on Rodgers. I don't think Rodgers is the type of guy that's going to lead you to a championship. And I'll say it. If Cutler doesn't get hurt, Rodgers doesn't have a Super Bowl.
Yeah. He has the same amount of NFC championships as Rex Grossman. So
a way to put it in perspective, my friend.
No, he's a front runner.
Yeah, that's it. When the times get going, he kind of disappears, and his family won't even talk to him. You mentioned their defense. They ran more 3-4 fronts last year. Key to the defense, they needed to create pressure because they only blitzed 21% of the time, 8th lowest in the league. I really think for this defense to be as good as it was last year, you mentioned one of them, pressure is going to be on Walker to come in right away, pick up the system and produce, but also Devontae White. I think he needs to come in and produce. I think if those 2 guys come in and put up numbers.
Wyatt, you said? Devontae Wyatt?
Yeah. I think if those 2 come in and do well, I think this defense is just going to be as good. Having Alexander back there, one of the better DBs in the league. I think having him there is just absolutely huge. and the defense is going to actually perform better with him there than when he wasn't there. But my thing with them is this. Rodgers is the front runner. We've never seen LaFleur handle chaos.
Yeah.
You know, like this year, I think we're going to see how good of a coach Matt LaFleur is. I think a lot of pressure is on the defense. How much is Rodgers going to be calling audibles? You know, he's kind of getting a little cuckoo, man. Like he's going, like talking
Taking
about
ayahuasca.
You know, he's talking about some weird stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Like if there's going to be a year where S hits the fan, I think this is going to be the year in Green Bay.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. And like, I don't know, I wouldn't take like their under for like wins just because of Rodgers. I wouldn't like bet them to miss the playoffs. Just like still, just as a Bears fan, like growing up, Rodgers just always kind of stuck it to me.
Yeah.
But as soon as they get in the playoffs, I like that first game. Like I just take whoever they're playing. I think
And just fade them.
like
Just fade them.
yeah, just fade them. I think I don't know. I like we talk about Rodgers. Like, is he ready, or like not ready, but is he able to play without his guy and like elevate all these guys around him? Because
Is he
he's
going to
always
be able
kind
to
of
make people better?
basically.
No, like seriously, is he going to be able to make people better? Is he going to be able to elevate? I don't think he is. I'm not sipping the hype. I think they're
He
going
was
to
already he was already like he quoted at training camp like getting on the receivers for like not being good enough or whatever. So I don't know.
I think we're going to see it. I think stuff's going to hit the fan. I definitely lean the under here. Just missed making the cut. So my bets for the NFC North are Dalvin Cook under 1,150.5 yards, Vikings under 9.5, Lions to make the playoffs plus 410, and the Lions to win the North. Reed, what are your bets, my friend?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I'm on Rod St. Brown over 850.5 yards. I think that's like my favorite one. I got Minnesota over wins and to win the division. I like the value there. Not going to be taking this, but just something people could keep an eye on. Kevin O'Connell's 20-1 with the Coach of the Year. I don't know. It's a narrative-based award. I don't know if Minnesota wins that division, overtakes Green Bay. There might be some, people talking about like the job he's done. If you're high on Minnesota.
So here's the thing, man. If Minnesota makes a playoff game, I will personally take you to the playoff game. How about that?
Okay. Well, can we see where it is? I don't know if I want to go up to Minnesota. Oh, they got a dome. It's fine.
Oh my God, dude. You grew up in Chicago, dude. Don't be so sensitive, man. Don't be so sensitive. So Reed, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you on social media, my friend?
Yeah. On Twitter, name's right here at rbianucci12. Like to give my sports opinions on there, basically. So
thanks for tuning in, guys. Same time next week. Sterling from Silver Star Sports will be coming on. We'll be previewing our last division, the AFC North. Until next week, boys and girls.